today.
Well,
let's talk about today.
If you're at a national and state level, you would have to run non-sales, wholesale.
It is like 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put a rate in the registration booth with the
Just this ever-evolving story.
Welcome back on this fine Monday morning. I'm your host, Logan Stevens, joined with the lovely Bert. Bert, what are we doing tonight?
Oh, we're going to be talking about the Big Daddy Winter Nationals. That's one of the things. And I got two great people. I've known these guys, especially David Whitley's dad, Ken Whitley, and I'm sure he's watching along here tonight. Known that guy for a long time with the old stroking truck. And we got Michael Shiflett. I'm telling you, one of the prettiest trucks I've ever seen. That old log truck, man, that thing is cool as all get out. But we're going to be talking about that show. We're going to be in the Dome in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. So, I mean, it's getting down to showtime. David, tell us a little bit about the Dome, as we call it down here in the Southeast.
I could talk all day about it, but I grew up at Williamston pretty much. In the winter, middle of January, I was at Williamston. I remember there's a picture of me sitting in the office in some cowboy boots asleep when I was probably 2 years old. So Dad's been doing it since, I think I want to say 99 or 98. Went there at the Ag Center, put on the first truck pull. They used to do monster trucks there a little bit and do a little bit of everything. But it's a middle of the winter pull, middle of January, and it's normally a pretty good group of guys. We always have a good time. It's one of the pulls where everybody gets paid the same show up. There's no points associated with it. I think we don't charge but like 20 or 30 bucks to register. We always feed everybody lunch on Saturday afternoon. We always hang out at the hotel on Friday night. It's more of a hangout and put on a show than a competition, but it's all a whole lot of bragging rights involved with it too.
Well, and I don't know. I ran that show probably, it was the early 2000s when we took the modified there and ran that. Yeah, had old Big Bird there. And, I tell you, that was a great venue. You got heaters too, folks. You go in there and you sit down in the grandstands. The heaters are right in front of you. You can go in there about 6:30 in the evening and walk around, talk to the drivers. Get your autographs, look at the vehicles up close. And that's the cool thing about it, because this is one of the first events. Some of you guys are bringing out the new stuff. You're bringing out what you've added on, or, like your new truck, David. That's going to be pretty cool with the rat rod style.
Yeah.
You had it out a little bit last year.
Yeah, I made 2 passes with it over at the Southern Showdown with Dragon Motorsports. It did pretty decent. I wasn't too pleased with it. I tried an automatic trans. I've heard everybody say they do good. I think I had too much of a stall in it. I think that was my main issue, but I had an opportunity to get a better motor. So I made 2 passes with it, took the motor out, took the trans out, and now I got a new clutch and a new motor for it, and we'll see what it does at Williamston.
So let's talk about some of the classes we got here. Obviously, the four-wheel drive guys, you and Michael are in that one. And, the big thing here, we talk about the classic mods or the V8 modifieds. We're going to have super mod 2-wheel drives, the mega trucks. And I'm going to pull this banner down just for a second, because I was filming there last year, and that's how close they get to you. I mean, literally, when he dropped the front of that truck down, I was right behind one of the barriers, and he was right there at me. But it's cool to watch those trucks. And David, you've got what, 1 or 2 of those now?
Yeah. We got one we pull with. I just picked up another blower motor. I'm probably going to be building a second one to pull. I might retire the old rat rod mega truck. Then we got a ride truck. We're building another ride truck right now. So we got a little bit of everything. But yeah, I definitely enjoy it. The stuff that I've been pulling in the class isn't competitive by any means, just some old slap together stuff. But it looks cool. It does its job. It stands a wheelie. It's fun to drive, but I've always wanted to kind of mess around in that class with something a little more competitive. So I'm building another truck. I think it's probably going to be a tube chassis. Might be a square body Chevy frame, S10 body. Probably going to wrap it similar to what the stroking truck is and stick a blower motor in it and run with those guys and have some fun with that too.
Michael, let's talk about you just a little bit here. You've kind of, you run up there with Dragon Motorsports, but you've also run a little bit with UPOC and you run with Carolina. You went and run at Piedmont. Yeah, that's a cool truck right there.
That's a good picture right there.
Thank you.
That's a cool truck right there. I mean, if you get
that's when we first, after we first bought it and painted it.
Yeah, you were painting that thing, you got it back Friday of the pool that year?
Yeah, the week of the pool. Kevin Floyd showed up to my house one Saturday morning and said, "Here it is. I done did my part. It's time for you to do yours." And we got to work on it, putting the engine and all that back in it.
That's a beautiful color. What color is that?
Well, Kevin calls it fuchsia, and then he likes mixing up all kind of exotic colors. So who really knows what he's got mixed in it? And funny story is, I had the bed and all redone on it, and I took it down to his house, and he painted it, and he called me on the phone. He said, "I got a problem here," and I said, "Well, what's the problem, Kevin?" He said, "The front don't match the back." He said, "I don't know what I did wrong," and he said, "Which color do you like?" And I said, "Well, the front half has been that way for a while, so let's go with the back half." And he called me back like after he painted. He said, "I know what I did wrong. When I first painted it, I had it primed with white primer." And he said, "When I redone the bed, I primed it with black primer." So it's had two different paint colors. It's not as light as it is in that picture that Bert showed you. It's a little bit darker now, but we're probably going to switch it up again here maybe after this pulling season. About the same color, but a different shade of it.
Yeah, that thing's sure pretty. And I was looking at some of your guys' points finishes, and you were up in there too with it. So it definitely is a strong runner.
Yeah, I won the points at Dragon in 22. I was runner-up in 23. 24, I think I got third. And then this year I ended up fourth in points. So it's not been going the way I wanted it to go, but it's still in the top 5.
Wasn't it last year you had your crank in a press trying to straighten it back out to finish the season?
That was the year I won it in 22. Yes.
Oh man, it's been a little longer than I thought it was then.
And it held up. You didn't after you straightened it out, it worked.
It run for 4 or 5 passes, and the last points pool right there, Miller's Tavern, I took off and it had good oil pressure, and about halfway down the track, the oil pressure started falling, and I was like, man, if I let off of it, I ain't gonna win the championship. So I just held it. I just held her till she wouldn't go to more, and it never gave up. I ended up driving it to the trailer. I said, the damage is done. We're putting a new crank in it anyway.
Yeah, there probably wasn't too much left for rod and main bearings in that motor after that.
It wasn't. It had spun the same rod bearing again. It was an older Crowell crankshaft. It had been in there for like 11 years, so it had played its part. It did, but Sonny's they got me all back fixed up with it. We're good to go. And then what was it, David? 24. I only needed one more hook on it because I was going to get it freshened up. Yeah. And it threw the rod out of it and destroyed the block. So I took it back and they fixed me up again.
Wow. Well, for those who don't know, David, you can chime on this a little bit too. Tell us a little bit about kind of what the base model of your truck is, what's kind of done with what makes your guys' four-wheel drive class unique compared to what you see on the Grand National circuit with stuff. So what is kind of the base of your trucks, and let's talk about what's different.
So, yeah, me and Mikey both run the 6200 National Sportsman, which is sanctioned only with Dragon Motorsports, to my knowledge. But Temple started it a couple years ago, and he said it's one of the best things he did for his organization. It is a tube or a classic chassis truck, and you can run 133-inch wheelbase. It's all the same safety, chassis, wheelbase rules, all that kind of stuff when it comes to PPL or NTPA, but we're limited on the motors. You can only run 650 cubic inches, which I know UPOC does the same thing, and then you got some Grand National trucks which are unlimited. But we can't run a wedge, or we can't run a Hemi head. We have to be limited to wedge heads, factory bore spacing, no less than a 12-degree head. So it's more of a budget friendly as far as a power plant goes. And Temple started it because there were so many trucks around Southern Virginia, Northern Virginia, North Carolina, that people didn't want to spend the money to get a new Sonny's Hemi to be able to run and be competitive anymore. So a lot of trucks were sitting in the barn in the garage, and people didn't have any interest to go. So he started this class, and you've seen a lot of older trucks that have been bought or put back in commission by the people who still had them, and they're front running trucks again. You know, it's a very competitive class. I will say with Dragon, just about any truck that's in the pits in our class could take the number one finish that night, and it's going to change almost every other pull. I won the points this year, 2025 last year, and I think I had 3 wins the whole season, and we had, I want to say 12 or 13 hooks after the rainouts and all. We were scheduled for 16 originally. But it's overall a very competitive class. It's somewhat of a budget friendly compared to the Grand Nationals, but it's a fun class. It's a really good group of guys. Everything, it's a whole lot of camaraderie. Just about anybody you could call them up. You know, if I needed a new clutch for my truck and I was running points, I could call Mikey or Simmons boys that run our class with us, and if they had a clutch, they'd probably bring it to me if I needed it, just so I could run the next time. So it's a good class, and it's keeping pulling alive. I feel like in the 4-wheel drive, like you see UPOC. I know this year they started picking up some, but the last couple of years you didn't have a whole lot of truck attendance, and then you got Dragon, who's running the sportsman class up in Virginia. Any pull, especially in the beginning of the season, you're going to see 10, 12 trucks minimum at every pull.
Well, and that's something I noticed down here was, the tracks are a little different because this, as both you guys know, you might go to one track that's a power track. The Hemi's going to get you. But last year in the Dome, it ain't all about the horsepower all the time. It's about getting all that horsepower to the ground. And, we go to some tracks around here that might be a little looser, and you can get those Hemis and you just can't quite get them to hook, where y'all can hook in the tracks pretty good.
Well, Bert, in my opinion, with tractor pulling, truck pulling, you need tracks like that. You need a track that it takes a driver. Anybody can drive a good track. Mash the gas, let off the clutch, it'll hook up and go. You really need some tracks that makes the drivers have to earn it, put in their switching their gears, how to drive their truck, set their clutches up. You need that, and it really helps out some of the trucks that are a little bit lighter on horsepower. It gives them, the opportunity to get up in the mix in the ball game.
Mm-hmm. That's like
Matthew
Williamston.
Carter would like to know, is that your biggest class in the Dragon Motorsports?
Some nights. I mean, there's been nights.
It depends on location. Yep.
Wow. So just real quick, we'll get on to the event, but this class interests me, being kind of a step under the national 4-wheel drive truck stuff. If someone was looking to get into it, how much would it cost for someone to get into it, and how many events out there are there really for it?
I'd say getting into it. Go ahead, Mike. You take this over.
I've seen one year Dragon, we have 18 to 20 pools a season. This year, like I said, we were scheduled for 16. He lightened up on us a little bit. We all wanted a little bit of a break. But you can spend just as much on the chassis if you want as a Grand National truck, because it's the same. A good new wedge motor, if you buy one, say from, like I did from Sonny's, it's going to run you around probably now $55,000 to $60,000. You can buy 650 wedge motors used all day long in the $25,000 to $35,000 range. It just like anything else, all depends on how much you want to spend. But in this class, we done found out the money don't always get it done.
Nope. I'd say bare minimum, your best way to get into it would probably be to buy an older 6200 National chassis, old truck chassis that's been modified into a pulling truck. Get you a used motor. You can pick up a used motor. Hell, I bought one. I think I bought it for 19,000 or something like that. Real pretty cheap for what it was. I think it made 1,250 so horsepower. So you buy the motor and you buy a rolling chassis. I think Chuck has one for sale. The old hard to handle. Mike, what is he asking for that truck? Is it 15, 20,000 or so?
No, I think it's 13, and that's everything minus a motor.
Yeah, so you could go out and buy a motor, say for 20,000, go buy a chassis for 15. You'd have 35,000. You'd have a truck. It probably wouldn't be a number one consistent in and out, day in and out truck, but lots to be said about $35,000 to get you a competitive truck. Where some events throughout the year, if you get a track that isn't the best, like we were just talking about, you could slip up there and get first.
I mean, I got one out here I'll sell. It's the old Foxy Lady chassis. Got a fresh 650 that I'll sell it for 45 complete, and everything is the motors, everything in is brand new. If someone's looking for a truck to get into class.
It's a relatively budget-friendly class for a four-wheel drive to really get into. And hell, I know some guys with the 6200 big block, the 500 some odd cubic inch DOT tire class. They slap some new axles up under them, and they're running with us. I know one guy, he has a Jagged Edge truck, Ricky Upton out of Morgan's Corner. Well, Newland, I guess you could say. But he's got an old 6400 truck, DOT tire, and he threw some cuts on there. And I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, he showed up to Williamston with the DOT tires on it still before he got the cuts, and he won. So
Tony Fraterelli, I don't know if you guys know who he is. Yeah. So last year he would run in the Pro Stock class, Pro Stock four-wheel drive class with the DOT tires. And then as soon as he would get through running, he'd run into pits, put on the cut tires and run into the Pro Mod class. And let me tell you something, Sammy, his son, almost won 1 or 2 events in that class. And he was against, some pretty big horsepower with Hepler and those other guys.
He was.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what you can do with some trucks that are underpowered. The underdogs, they'll slip up there more than you think.
Wow. Yeah. Now that seems to be a really good stepping stone getting into the sport. And then if you want to have aspirations one day to move up into a national level class, that seems like a good way to go with that. Bert, I think we've talked enough about the truck pull in itself. Let's talk about this Williamston, North Carolina pull.
Well, I guess David's the guy that asked on this, and I was going to bring something up. David, you can get advance tickets right now. They're available online. In fact, I'm going to pull this up here in a second. You can get tickets available online. Are you selling them locally anywhere advanced? Because you can get them for $15 advanced, and you can get them at the door for $20.
Yeah, we got quite a few locations. We sell Lee Chevrolet in Washington, North Carolina. There's a duck through in Windsor, North Carolina. There is a place relatively close called the Country Mart 2, close to Greenville. You got Leon Nixon's over there in Edenton. He's used to be a long-time puller. I bought his chassis a couple of years ago. But if you know pulling, you know Leon. Pit Road in Elizabeth City. So we got quite a few places that sell them in person. And those places you can show up, especially like duck through. They run them under the register, so you can show up with $15 on the card, $15 cash. Right. Leon's is a cash-only location. We always, of course, sell them at the door, $20 at the door. And we're selling them online this year. First time we've done it. I'm hoping it'll help some. It seems to be like a fairly easy platform. I got stuff set up to be checking the spectators in as we go. And then we're taking card at the door now, too. It used to be a cash-only event. T-shirts were cash-only. Gate was cash-only. The only card you could really do was at the duck through, but aside from that, it was cash only. So we're trying to get a little more modern with it and updated with the times, but I think it'll help.
Yeah, go to BigDaddyMotorsports.org, and if you scroll down, that link is right there in the blue, and check that out. So if you're curious, or you're not, if you're within 50 miles of the show, there's nothing going on wintertime after Christmas. You got to hear a little horsepower, and methanol and the 4-wheel drives. And honestly, I tell you, one of my favorite classes right now is let's see, there it goes. One of my favorite classes to watch is the antiques. The V8 modifieds is what we call those classic mods. Those they get up a lot of wheel speed. They get kind of fast, and David, Michael, as well as I do, this track starts out 30 foot wide, but you're going to be driving through the gates when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it bottlenecks on you pretty quick.
What was that, Michael?
I've had some close calls going through that gate over the years. Never hit it, but seen the mini rods tear the door down one night.
I was about to say that we have had a too close of a call one year. We took the doors down. We were up there a couple weeks after the pull, hanging some new doors for them.
But Bert, that's the loudest I ever heard the crowd go crazy when them doors got tore down. We ought to hang us up a set of false doors and tear them down again.
Make something out of styrofoam or something. The crowd always loves seeing some carnage, no matter what. That's why I guess demolition derbies do so good. Everybody sees something get tore up. They love it.
Well, we hate the pullers, to mess up something. But, I know Dale Burleson, he used to run the 3-engine mod through there. And I remember one night running with him. I think I beat him on Friday night because indoor always gave me a little bit of an advantage because I could get hooked a little quicker and I could change the gear ratio. But he came through there on Saturday night, and that left tire, he scrubbed the concrete on scrubbed the door on the way out. I mean, that's how tight it gets. And in fact, let me pull up a video here and to show you how tight it just, man, it gets tight. Let me see if I can get that commercial up.
Well, Bert, funny story, when David Carlton first bought the side piece truck, it was one of his first runs he made in it, and the seat was setting real low in it. He couldn't hardly see, above the dash.
Right.
And me and Kevin English stood at the end of the track holding our hats up to guide him through there on each side of the gate so he wouldn't hit it, so he could see us and know that he was clear to go through the fence.
Last
year we had Butch Self with that green and white mega truck. He was riding a wheelie up down through the gates. He almost made it through the doors, and when he came back down, there's 2 swing gates right there, right before the big doors that we took down a couple of years ago. And he came down, and it didn't mess the door up, but it slung it open. I think that was a close call on that one.
Yeah, but that's one of the exciting things. Back when Ken first started it, not many people pulled out between the gates. I wonder if your dad was a little nervous about that, but they always stopped us right there where the front end, was right there at the gates. But man, after a couple of years, we went there one year, and man, it was like I said, me and Dale went at it, and I went halfway through the gate. Let me tell you, 30 foot going to 20 foot, that gets tight real quick.
Well, when we pulled the
Dad
old
still gets
Woodwhackers
nervous
plan,
about that. I think some of that was Temple's doing. He's always ran the sled there, and I think over the years he got a little more comfortable with it too, so he started letting them run on out there, and it puts on a really good show.
Quick question here with that. What would happen if you flipped the sled around and ran her the other way?
We have thought about it, but worst case scenario with that is at least – so the way the building is set up, it bottlenecks down to that 20-foot entrance with the doors at it. We keep the main doors open, then it has another back bay, I guess you could say. It's probably another 50, 60 foot deep. So if something were to happen, truck, the gear wasn't right in the sled or something like that, or a truck comes unhooked, God forbid, at least you got 50, 60 foot to try to stop before you hit something. So if you spin that sled around, you're facing a concrete barrier that goes about 5, 6 foot in the ground. And if you make it through that barrier, which, 6, 7, 10,000 pound vehicle probably will, you got the crowd over there. Now, we don't have any seats behind it. We keep it barricaded off. That way nobody's right up against the concrete barriers at ground level. But people are always walking from the left to the right side of the building. So that's been a concern for us.
Yeah. I was just curious having that, putting a big old sand pile there and doing it like you do at the farm show kind of deal.
Yeah, we have thought about it, but you also kind of lose the cool factor going through the doors. But
Exactly.
Somebody hits a sand pile, I guess you gain it back. But
yeah,
You guys would figure out a way to park it
Kids
right
just sent me the
up on
video, and
top.
I'm trying to get it to load.
I mean, I guess we've been lucky over 26 years, and we've been lucky.
27,
Nobody hit the wall yet. I mean, they scraped it, but no one's really tore nothing up but the mini rod.
Well, years ago, which I was real young, I've always heard about it. I don't even know if I remember it, but one guy with a 4-wheel drive truck, I can't even think of his name. Mike, you could probably tell me. But he unhooked, and I guess he had a bad run. His motor was messing up or something. He got a little hot-headed, and he stepped on it and lost control of the truck, and I think he came up and tapped the barrier. Unhooked.
I don't remember outside. I remember we had one in the pit who had a Crowler glide clutch, and I don't think his neutral safety switch was working because he started it up and he revved it up on the clutch, and the back jumped up over the fence right there. That's the worst that I've seen.
Who used to drive the old wide open truck?
Sheldon.
Yeah. So I remember one year. I remember one year he twisted the chassis. Like it was so twisted, like it was only like 2 tires were touching the ground. That's been years and years ago, man. I remember that.
He's running the street class now, and it was Friday night last year, first time we had a street class there. I think he stripped out his ring and pinion or something like that. He went home, swapped it out, and was back for lunch Saturday morning.
Dedication.
Bert, let's talk about this street class we got in there, because a lot of the boys that are in this street class, they got 700-800 horsepower small blocks in the street trucks to run.
I was going to say there was a truck there last year. There was no way that was a street stock.
Yep. Yeah, we're some stories behind a little bit of all that, but the street class. I had a fella call from Indiana last week, and he was like, "Well, I got a street truck. I'd be interested in coming." I said, "Man, you're more than welcome if you want to come." At the time, we were still looking for another truck to fill the spots in that class. I told him, "Man, if you want to make drive, you're more than welcome." I was like, "But I can't let you drive from Indiana and come here to expect to run against some street trucks." That class, it's a lot of the local guys. We do have one fella, Trey Gibson. He comes from far away. He asked us to come last year. He's a really cool fella. So he's coming back again this year. He's got a white, I want to say a 2008 or 2010 Chevy, real low in the front. Does pretty good for what it is. But we run what you brung as far as that class goes. It's gotten extremely out of hand, and everybody in the class knows it. But nobody in the class really cares. So I think there's probably 2 or 3 trucks in that class that I could still consider a street truck when they don't have a bottle being fed to them. The rest of them, you could probably drive them on the street, but you ain't going to drive very far. I'll put it that way. But it's a good group of guys. It's very street appearing, but they're all making some pretty decent horsepower. It's a fun class. Good group of guys. Nobody really cares. It's more bragging rights as it goes. Your street class never really pays a whole lot, so it's not like, if you spray another 200 shot over me, you're gonna take them another $50 a night. That ain't that. You probably burn $50 a night just that. Right. So you're taking money out of anybody else's pocket, but the guys have a good time with it.
I think it's more bragging rights than it is anything else in the first place, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing street about our street
splitting it. Yeah, we've talked about splitting the class into like a hot street and a street gas, just so the guy who actually truly does have a street truck can still come and compete and win and have it as a fair class, And I think we're probably going to do that at our April pool and see how it does. I'll start advertising it ahead of time. That way, the guys with the street trucks around here know they're going to be running in a hot street class where they probably should be. And then the actual guys with the street truck that they drove in there and their Chevy 1500 they've had for 15 years can hook up to the sled and might get first.
Yeah.
Let's catch up on some comments here. I'll cut you off because there's some pretty comical stuff coming on over here. But what is Williamston close to?
Nothing.
I was looking on Google Maps, and it's just kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. But
yeah, Eastern North Carolina kind of can be like that. I always tell people, if somebody asks me where I'm from, I always say I'm close to the Outer Banks, North Carolina, or I'm close to Virginia Beach. Because other than that, Raleigh's about 3 hours away from us. So Williamston is about 2 hours east of Raleigh, and it is about 2 hours away from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Closest place to it would probably be Rocky Mount. That is the larger of the cities in that area, I would say. Greenville, North Carolina is another big one, very close to it.
Okay. Matthew Carter wants to know, is there big money for the street class? We're
paying our normal purse for the street class, but there is one fella, Casey Bateman. I always like stirring stuff on Facebook, and I've known Casey for a right good while. He's been pulling. He has a red Dodge that his son drives in a street class too, and then he has a white one himself. But I told him, I was like, hey, man, hop on Facebook and start some stuff up with a street class. You know, it gets everybody excited to go, gets the street guys talking about it, gets some drama going. But at the end of the day, everybody shows up and has a good time. But it keeps some action going on Facebook. Well, he calls me the other day, and he said, hey, I made a post on Facebook. Go check it out. I said, all right. He said he wanted to put up $1,000 for a grudge run, and he wanted the other guys in the class, if we could get some people that were up to put up $1,000 as a bet or a side bet for his truck against whoever else wants to come, the guys in the class would pick out a fair truck for him, and that he would, I guess, have a grudge run with somebody. So I said, man, if you want to do it, I'll let somebody else come if you can find somebody.
Any word on if he found someone?
I don't think so right now. Mostly everybody that I've heard message us or get up with him has been pretty much a big block, 6,400-pound truck without a weight rack or something like that. So I don't want no crazy advantage one way or another. And he doesn't want to run the local guys because pretty much the local guys know where they all lay at. You got somebody who's going to beat you guaranteed. Well, might not want to put up $1,000, vice versa. You don't want to lose $1,000. So if we could find somebody out of state that would be a pretty close match to it, I think it'd be pretty good. Rough guess, his truck, I'd probably say makes 500-600 or so. I don't know what it really makes, but just looking at it, it does pretty dang good for a street truck.
Would you ever separate some trucks into a cheater stock class?
That's what we were just tapping on earlier with the hot street gas. They run a hot street diesel with Dragon Motorsports, and then you have your street diesel, of course. The hot street diesel is more of a run with your brung as far as the engine goes. You're limited to, no crazy hanging weights. You can run a weight rack, but it's not going to be a fully gutted interior tube chassis truck. It's still a hot street truck with a weight rack. And we're thinking about doing that with a hot street gas, but probably going to do no weight racks on it. I would allow a drawbar, solid suspension in the rear end and stuff like that. But we do have a small block 6,200-pound class local to us. And if I let the hot street gas trucks want to run a weight rack, it'd be very similar. So I don't see any advantage to that. But it would just more so separate the horsepower levels. A guy with a cold air intake and a tune on a LS motor or something like that would be a street gas truck. And then you got the guy with some – he's got a 427 stroker LS in it and a big intake and a big cam and all that kind of stuff. He probably needs to be in the hot street class.
One of my fellow competitors and good friends, the good old Tyler Slaw, he thinks we should make him drive 40 miles to get breakfast before hooking to the sled that day. What's the thoughts on that? I like that.
Me and Casey had actually talked about doing that at the Dixieland pulls we do. Williamston always is more of a camaraderie pull get together. I always say if it fits through the door the day of the show, if you're going to hook and go home, we ain't got no problem with it, But Dixieland, it's more of a brush pull, bragging rights. A lot of the local crowd shows up. So, local pull, you're going to want to do good. So we did think about doing where everybody that's going to run in the street gas class has to go on a 20 to 30-minute drive beforehand. Say if the show starts at 6:30 or 7 o'clock, you got to be there by 4 o'clock. And you have to go, say, 20, 30 miles. You can make a loop and then come back, and you have 2 hours to go through it. That way, if you got a mechanical failure or something like that, truck starts overheating or whatever, if you can make it back within 2 hours, you got it. But you can't trailer it back and you can't trailer it in. So that's something we had brushed up on, but I'd like to get with the class and see what they think on it too.
That would be something else, just thinking about this right now, piggybacking off Tyler's stuff, is do kind of what you see with the drag race and stuff and do a drag and drive event to where if you had 2 or 3 hooks in a row, it has to be a drag and pull series or a drive and pull series kind of deal.
That's kind of where we got the idea from, like he was saying with the 40-mile drive. A lot of guys do that with the drag racing series. You show up to the event and you want to run a street legal class, you have to go and make a loop and have it recorded or have somebody go with you. And you have to be back within a certain time frame before the race, and you have to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'd make it interesting to see just how street, so to speak, some of these trucks are with stuff. That's all caught up with that. So it's looking like it's going to shake out pretty well. About how many trucks and tractors do you guys have signed up for this?
Total count normally is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40. It's always, plus or minus. You got somebody that gets snowed in this time of year coming from up Northern Virginia or something. They may not be able to make it. But normally we shoot for 40 to 45 anticipated to come. If you get 45, normally it probably winds up being 40, 42 actually showing up. We always have 2 or 3 that don't make it, they get snowed in or they're obligated with plowing contracts or something like that time of year where they have to be out.
What is the weather in North Carolina this time of year?
That's a good question. If you're from North Carolina, you know why we're laughing.
Yeah.
What was it, about a week ago? It was 65 degrees and I was working in the shop, and then I walked out the house the next morning. It was 32 and I was bundled up all day in a pretty thick jacket. So ain't no telling what it's going to be. But like last year, it was pretty decent. I'd say it was mid 40, maybe 50 degrees last year with a low of 35, 40, something like that. It wasn't terrible last year, but like Bert was saying, maybe it was Mikey. I think it was Mikey was saying one year he walked out to go load his truck up and it was 8 degrees. So
that was in the early 2000s. It was cold.
Yeah. We've seen it snow on Friday night before, so there's no telling what Buffalo's going to throw at us.
Bert, you remember that?
I remember walking outside. We had the tractor sitting in the corner. We walked outside, and me and Wayne were heading back to the hotel, and we were like, it's snowing. And it was like freezing rain, sleet, snowing, and we're like, you got to be kidding. But I guess,
the same night.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're so used to tractor pulling, you go outside tractor pulling, it's warm outside, it's hot, and you walk outside, you're like, I just left a tractor pull and it's snowing. What's going on,
Yep.
So,
yeah. Bert, you said something about the hotel. You were pulling back there when they used to stay in the hotel downtown, right?
We never stayed at that one. We always drove back to Greenville. But we never stayed at that one in downtown.
Back then, if you were staying at the hotel, you normally had a pretty good time with that one. I've heard some pretty crazy stories there.
Yeah. Okay, so I do remember one year they had like a race at the pool. They had the chairs, and they were going around in a circle. Is that the one that you're talking about? They were making noise at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You may not have been that old then, because that was right there in the beginning.
He was young then, Bert. I don't think he.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that. I've heard some pretty interesting stories. That's probably one of the more tame ones. But that
Bert,
does
you're talking
sound
about back in the Buster Campbell days and all.
Yeah. They went and took all the chairs at the pool and basically raced around the pool. And you think about the concrete. It's got the splits in the concrete for expansion. Well, you heard it like 2 o'clock in the morning. You heard the thump, 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 where they were racing each other in the chairs, pushing each other around.
The wheel around chairs, yeah.
They were. I think the next year we went back and none of them had wheels on them or something like that. Maybe that was the reason why. I'm not sure.
I believe that.
But there's a lot of stories, and there are probably some we probably shouldn't talk about on here. But there, especially back in the old days, when your dad Ken and Sambo West and Leon Nixon, those guys, they didn't cut it no slack. I mean, they would help each other out, but when it came to grudge matches on the track, they went down to it, and they play little pranks on each other every once in a while too.
Well, let's go around the room, and what has been some of the favorite memories from, what is this, year 26 of this pool? Is that what I caught earlier?
Yeah, I think 27.
I think it's 27.
27. Holy cow.
27th year doing this pool.
Well, David, what's your favorite memory?
Say what, sir?
I couldn't even tell you what my favorite memory is. I grew up there, so I got a whole lot. I don't know. As far as the competitive aspect of it, not more so a promoter side of it, but the first year having a 4-wheel drive truck there, I think I don't want to say I won the first year I pulled. If it wasn't the first, it was the second year, and that was a pretty good feeling to finally be competing there with a truck of some caliber and to be able to take home a win there was pretty neat.
Bert, what's your best memory there?
This goes back on the competitive standpoint. One of my favorite things there, well, not even competitive part, but one of my favorite things there is the pit party. Before the show starts, you go out there, sign autographs, and you get to talk to people. And some of them are local, and then you get people out of Virginia. A lot of people come out of Virginia to this show, it's a great place to interact with the fans. I love it.
Yeah, we got
Michael?
some spectators coming out of South Carolina.
Wow.
Whew.
What's your favorite memory from the show?
I've had a lot of them there. I've been going to that show since probably 2002, 2003. Every year when the truck was available, I've had a lot of good memories there. I've won there a few times, so I think all the memories I've had there have been good, even the bad ones.
Yeah.
Both of you are competing there, right? You'll have the trucks together and running?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
David helps me a lot with mine on the suspension. Over the years, a lot of people's helped me with it. Simmons boys, Aaron Smothers, Temple, David. I give them all credit. I feel like when I do win, I still go around and I give them all credit for helping me, because I feel like if it weren't for them, it wouldn't be possible for me to got that win that night. So I walk around and give them all a pat on the back, tell them thank you.
Yeah, that touches on the camaraderie of the class that I see when I run with them. You know, I would say there isn't very often where the guys that run in the class in the off season, we talk to each other rather often. We toss around ideas, what we're planning on doing to their truck, what they think about this or that. We get each other's input on it. And just like Mikey says, you know, if it wasn't for everybody in the class, I think overall the class would be a little bit lower of a caliber than it is, because everybody's helping each other. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
How did you find yourself being the promoter of it?
I was born into it. I didn't have much of a choice. If we were going to keep on doing it, I was going to be putting the pulls on. So here we are, and I like it. I've always wanted to do it myself, and my dad, obviously, he's still involved. Of course, he's been doing it as long as he has. But this year, I've been taking it over some here and there, running the daily operations of the show, keeping up with everything and coordinating it. But this year, I've really taken over the reins of it and doing all the coordination behind the scenes, setting up the insurance, getting in contact with everybody, doing the advertisement, ticket sales, and all that. And I'm liking it. It feels more like my own than something I was, grown up into. But taking it over this year, we're doing online ticket sales and stuff, and it's neat to see what we can expand it into.
Michael, how did David drag you into this one, or how'd that work out?
I don't know. I've known David since he was a little bitty boy, probably 7 or 8 years old, and we talk almost on a daily basis, me and him. And I don't know. He asked me, would I come up here with him? I told him I would, and just about like that.
Well,
yep.
I guess you got to start somewhere with stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he asked me for ideas, or if, or say, hey, call around the guys, ask them, what do you think about this, or like that. And so I'll do it, because I've probably got more of the phone numbers than what he's got.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I get more free time during the day. I own a trucking company, and a lot of times I drive one of the trucks myself. So, of course, I get a lot of free time during the day to make phone calls and stuff. But we're pretty good friends, me and him.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely sounds like it. For those who can't make it, is there a way to live stream it, or what are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, Bert would be the guy on this one, but we're having full pull. Going to be doing a live stream this year. I think that's going to be very neat. The guys that can't make it, say the guys in Indiana, Ohio, and stuff like that, we're pulling's big, but they might want to not drive so far. Full pull is going to be helping us out this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Bert, you could elaborate a little more on that. You know more about it than I do, but.
Yeah, fullpull.live. Just go in there. I mean, $39 a month. You can't go wrong. And the good thing about it is, say you just want to watch this show, you can just do it for a month, and you can go back and look at shows, from the last couple of years also. One thing about it, though, like us, we'll go back and watch events just to kind of catch up on things. Maybe we missed an event, or like me and my wife love going to, these bigger shows that we don't have time to go to because we're, local down here. And you can say this, Dragon Motorsports, once everything kicks off, man, it's wide open all year. You may not be able to go to a big event or maybe see an event you want to watch. Go to fullpull.live. You can watch everything you want to see, and you can watch tractor pulling all day long. I'll wake up in the mornings, walk in the living room, and my daughter's watching it. She loves two-wheel drives. That's her thing. So she'll go pull that up on the TV. I was like, which pull you got today? And she won't know, But long as two-wheel drives is up there, she's watching along with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like you were saying, not being able to make it to some of the larger pools. We had a pool the same weekend as Bowling Green, Ohio. I was talking with Mikey this year. We both like to be able to make it, but when you're running points, you don't have the opportunity to. If you want to win the points, you're not going to be going to Ohio if you got a pool that you got points in. So
I just go for the experience. I have to take the truck. I just want to go for the experience.
Well, if I'm going to drive that far, I'm going to bring the truck. I don't know about you. I probably ain't going to win there. I know that, but if I'm going to drive, I'm going to drive the big truck.
I help you.
But I watched it. I watched it this year, and I'd like to be able to go one year. I might be able to get some time to slip out there if we're not running points, or if there's a weekend free with the point series on that one. But it's always neat to be able to go and live stream some of the shows that you can't make it to. So
yeah, that's the awesome thing that live streaming's brought to this is you can see so much more pulling that without it you wouldn't be able to see, kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, with the start of the live stream and full pull and beer money pulling team and all that kind of stuff, I will say pulling has gotten more exposure in the last couple of years than I've ever expected it to get. 10 years ago, pulling was more of a niche community, grassroots thing, and motorsports in general is a niche community. But pulling has gotten more traction in the last couple of years through social media, live streaming, the videos that you always see scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that. And I think it's doing nothing but growing the sport.
But a lot of promoters, they don't like the live streaming because they feel like it takes away from fans in the stands. But my opinion is if you're going to live stream it, you didn't plan on coming to the event anyway. Because, I might pay for a live stream for an event in Ohio where I'm not going to Ohio to be at the pool, but I will pay a $20 live stream to watch it at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the same way I look at it. And you hear people, especially, a lot of people have been pulls on for a long time. The only time I could see it hurting, if it was a 25-degree day in Williamston and it was live streaming and somebody had bought some tickets, they might pay the extra money to live stream it and not have to drag their kids out in 20-degree weather or something. But rare instances like that, I might see a difference. But I will say in general, like myself, I'm big into pulling. If I was going to live stream a pull, it's going to be because I can't make it. If you're big into pulling or you even remotely like pulling and there's a pull within an hour radius of you, you're going to go and feel the seat vibrate and watch the truck go down the track, probably not live stream.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, that your next opportunity to watch something in Eastern North Carolina as far as in person, if you don't go to this one, you got to wait till April. That's it. And if you're in Eastern North Carolina, if you're within 50 miles, I'm an hour from there. I'm in Pine Tops, so I'm an hour from there. I go every year. I mean, this is the first time we're live streaming it, but I go every year, at least one night. Last year I did some filming there, but every year I go just because, hey, this is my only fix for pulling in North Carolina until April or May.
Yeah, it's the middle of the winter. There's nothing else motorsports-wise you can really go to. I know they do a monster truck show there. They do some go-kart racing and stuff like that. But as far as truck pulling goes, if you're not going to be here, you're not going to see anything until springtime.
Well, Bert, the last time pulling was in Eastern North Carolina, it'll be a year ago because we got rained out last April. We didn't get the pool done at Dixieland. So it's been a year since the people seen pulling in person.
Yeah. I will say, especially Williamston, if you're thinking about doing the live stream versus coming to the pool and whatnot, and nothing against the live stream or anything like that, but going back to a lot of people saying that the live stream will hurt you. If you've ever been to a truck pull, I think you very well know that a two-wheel drive going down the track, vibrating the bleachers or the stands or wherever you are, can never compare to something you can watch on a TV. So I really don't think it hurts it in any way, shape, or form.
True.
Yeah, that's awesome. So January 16th and 17th, Williamston, North Carolina. Be there, be square kind of deal because it's going to be a big event. Bert, what do you got left on your itinerary of stuff to cover?
I mean, it's right now it's all about Big Daddy here in North Carolina. And like Matthew says, the only indoor pool in North Carolina right now. And, David, let's bring this up for a second because we kind of talked about this a little bit on the phone and some of the other conversations. You're thinking about doing a little bit of the Winter League next year, possibly. if you can get
We
everything
had
together.
tossed around the idea of doing a little winter series, probably 3 to 4 pulls. North Carolina, if I could get another location. We've done one in Duplin, North Carolina before, years and years ago. My dad did before I was really taking him over. Never really had a whole lot of luck there, and you would think you would because you got a military base close to there. But that was before the social media advertising days. You know, you're really relying on radio and stuff, and on base, it's kind of hard to get into that community. So I think we might be looking at going back there again, doing a smaller pool. It's a smaller community. I think the budget on the pool would have to be a little bit smaller, but may go down to South Carolina if we could get one in Southern Virginia, something like that. I think I would like to do a 3 or 4 pool series in the winter. I'd like to get a couple classes that you're going to do a point series and have a points fund, have X amount to register, and then I'll kick in some money towards a points pool, and then we have a little banquet afterwards. Everybody gets to hang out and take some bragging rights home. And I think it'd be something neat to do in the winter. You know, right now, North Carolina, I think my pool is the only one you can go to for the 5-month stretch of the winter. And then, if you want to go somewhere, you have Ocala, which is the weekend after our shows. That's all the way down in Florida. In March, you have Keystone Nationals. And then you had the Kentucky Invitational, which was this last weekend. But it's all over, it's not going to be within a couple-hour radius. It's going to be all the way up Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Florida. So having something around here in the winter would be neat.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up. You got Zalewood 6th and 7th, and you got a regional national pool. That's in Florida. They're all in, like you said, in Florida. North Carolina, here's your fix. You can't miss it. The other thing is, are you going to do the rides for the kids? Are you going to have that this year with the trucks?
Not going to do it this year. We have actually sold that truck. We had a good buddy of ours. Bert, you probably remember us doing the pull over there in Suffolk, Virginia, years and years ago at the old airport. Well, the guy who kind of run the little grounds there, I want to say it was his son, approached us about buying the truck months and months ago. He actually took it to a birthday party for his kid, which was the guy I'm talking about, the grandson. And they brought the truck back, and then he was like, man, would you be willing to sell this truck? And I was like, you know what? I only bring it out about once a year to ride kids around at Williamston. I've had it for a couple of years, so yeah, I probably would. So I don't think we're going to have our new ride truck done in time. Right now, I got the back half of the lift done. Dad's been messing with it, but I don't think I'll be able to have the seats mounted and everything, and the brakes plumbed up and all that kind of stuff in time for it this year. But next year is going to be there.
No doubt. That's definitely cool, though. This is a great venue. Walk around the pits before the show starts. A great food venue there. Also, you're not going to get any what I call, sometimes you get some fair food, or you go to some venues and the food's not that great. Food's always good there. And, Leon, I'm sure he's going to be taking care of us on Saturday.
Yep. We always have Leon Nixon with Leon Nixon's Catering come in on Saturday. We always feed everybody at 12 o'clock at the consent or the meeting building, I guess you could call it. But all the pullers and anybody that's with us, we always feed everybody on Saturday at 12 o'clock. But the facility, as far as concessions goes, Pagan's Grill has a contract for that building now. That's actually a restaurant in Greenville, North Carolina. So it is a full-blown restaurant that has a contract for the Ag Center. They have some very good food there.
Well, I tell you what, let's start a commercial up, and we'll look how tight this venue is, man. I'm telling you, it's definitely worth watching.
Who's ready for the Big Daddy Winter Nationals? Happening January 16th and 17th. Get ready for 6 epic classes of power, adrenaline, and full pulls at the Senator Bob Martin Eastern Agricultural Center in Williamston, North Carolina. Live streaming at Full Pull Live.
Yeah, so that tells you how tight. He goes from 30 foot wide to 20 foot wide. There's always some excitement, and hopefully nobody hits the wall or gets too close. But there were some 2-wheel drives last year, man. I've got a picture somewhere. There wasn't an inch between that wall and that truck.
I think in that video, that was the time I was talking about that green and white mega truck that came down right and just blew that gate open. It just barely nicked it, about an inch or two. A tire overlapped it, and it blew the door open, but it didn't mess nothing up. But I think that was a pass.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's awesome. Well, David, what are you looking forward most on the event coming up here?
I'd say me personally looking forward to seeing everybody and having a good time. More so myself, we always enjoy pulling it on. If you're going to be a promoter of a truck pull, most of the time you have to enjoy doing it to do it. You can't be in it for the money. So I'm always looking forward to having all my friends and the guys that I know in the pulling community come out in the winter, get their trucks out, get a good fix of pulling. Like Bert was saying, there's nothing else you can do in the winter with the pulling trucks. So always looking forward to seeing everybody. And we like putting on the shows for the kids. I always enjoy seeing the kids come out with their families and talking to the drivers in the pits and stuff like that, walking around. Some folks pick them up and set them in the driver's seat of the trucks. Friday nights, we let kids 10 and under come in for free. They don't need a ticket or nothing. You just got to pay for, the parents' admission. And we always normally have a pretty good crowd of kids on Friday, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Bert, what are you looking?
I was going to say, David, remind everybody where they can get those advance tickets because they're only $15 if you get them advance. So remind everybody where you can get those from.
Yeah, if you buy them ahead of time, you can get them for $15. It's $5 less than you can get them at the gate. If you go to our website, BigDaddyMotorsports.org, it has all the locations listed on there. There's a couple of duck throughs, Lee Chevrolet in Washington, North Carolina, Leon Nixon Catering in Edenton, Country Mart 2, which is, I want to say, close to Greenville. But there's quite a few locations you get them in person. We're trying online ticket sales this year. I want to say that is $17 and some change after you do the fees, of course. Just like everything else, you buy it online, go through a server, you're going to have some fees onto it. But it's $17 and some change if you get them online. Then we always sell them $20 at the door.
Well, pack that house tight.
Well, I mean, that's the big thing here is that's what we want to do. If you've got an opportunity, go there. I mean, everybody thinks, like you said, David, promoters are in it for the money. I can promise you, if you ever promote a pull, you will find out, I'm not going to say it nickel and dimes you to death, but there's always $1,000 here. There's $500 there. There's, and that's one thing with this venue, the insurance and everything else. There's a lot of expense in it. So, you definitely want to make that money back so you can come back year to year and make the show bigger and better. And that's the goal for this year.
Everybody always says, they look at that facility, and when you're standing on the floor in there on the track and you look around, there is a lot of seats around you, especially when they have people standing in them. It looks like you are in a packed arena like the Hoosier Dome, But if you look it up, I think that arena only holds 1,800 or so people. So if you do the math, it's not a cheap pool to put on. Everybody always thinks, you probably got $3,500 worth of, or 3,500 tickets sold tonight. Well, it only holds 1,800 and there's only about half the seats filled. So you do the math on it. You can't be in it for the money. You have to enjoy doing it to do it, just like participating in it. You're not going to get rich pulling. You're not going to get rich putting on pulls either. But it's a good time to keep the sport going, have the kids come out, watch the show, introduce it to new people in their area, stuff like that. I always enjoy seeing people that haven't been to a truck pull before come to our event. So you got to enjoy it.
Bert, what are you looking forward to?
I just love the atmosphere, especially, like I said, the pit party, walking around, looking at vehicles, taking shots and, taking pictures of the vehicles and just looking at them up close. I've been around pulling, all my life, but that's still my favorite part. And you get to talk to the drivers and see what's on their mind. And, my biggest thing is kind of figuring out, hey, what are you going to do tonight to, like Michael, what are you going to do tonight to beat David or vice versa? That's always been my biggest thing. Well, and I know you guys ain't going to tell me the truth, but I still like to do it.
You'd be surprised. A lot of guys in our class, they ain't going to hide nothing from you.
No, ain't no secrets really. I mean, we're all pretty much running in that class that me and David run in. We're all pretty equal in the horsepower range and about the same tires. Now, I am the only one who ventured out at the last pool and put a set of Mayheels on back the truck, and they did really good. I run them once; they did good. I'm excited to see how they're going to do in Williamston. It killed my weight, but if the truck does as good this season with them on as it did the last pool, I'm willing to lose that extra weight that it cut me back.
I think if you have a good year this year, you're going to start a Mayhill tire craze. That's the thing with pulling. You got one person that changes something up and it does good. Everybody floods that way. You know, everybody runs a Nichols tires on the truck right now. Mikey does good with these Mayhills on the back of his truck. You're going to see probably next year everybody's going to be running Mayhill tires. You're going to be looking for some used Mayhills on Facebook and all this kind of stuff, trying to get the best edge on somebody. But yeah, you had a really good pass over there at the Southern Showdown with the Mayhills. I think it made a pretty good difference.
Yeah, I ended up second that night. I was a few feet short, and I broke a front axle. I don't think I'd have had enough to get there, but I'd have been a little bit closer.
Yeah, we saw some corners that night. We had the Simmons boy. He broke a front yoke or a U-joint.
And
I broke the front axle. You broke the front axle.
Yep. We had a lot of breakage that night with the trucks.
Yep. That means it was a good track when you start breaking drive line. Yep.
Yeah, Miller's Tavern, there, Dragon Motorsports Park. It's normally a good track. We've had a lot of pullers there come. Had Rob Foster there, Larry and Lisa Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
They've all been there. About all the Virginia trucks, West Virginia. We get a good crowd of trucks in there now and then. This year we would like to do something to try to get more of the sportsman trucks that come from out of town. We're talking about maybe throwing in a big purse to get some sportsman trucks like we pull from other states to come run with us. I mean, try to see if our trucks can run with theirs and vice versa. Do a little thing to get some trucks, some new trucks in the area to show their face.
Yeah. That'd be good to see. Another thing about Temple's track over there at Miller's Tavern, he also has the Honky Tonk 300, I think he calls it, in the springtime every year. It's a little bit of an earlier, it's a daytime pull, and then he has a band come in that night, and your admission for the day covers you for the whole day. You get to hang out for the concert, and I think everybody hangs out on the track, actually, after the pull's overwards. So I think that's something a pretty good time, too.
Yeah. Put your children up when it gets late.
Yep. I would say, truck pull, about 10 o'clock rolls around. Probably need to go on home if you've got some little young kids and whatnot, but it's a good time. It's a party for sure.
Definitely.
Well, anyone watching, if you got any final questions for David and Michael, get them typed in. Michael, what are you most looking forward to coming up here in a couple of weekends?
I ought to hang out with all my buddies, which a lot of them are close. And there's a lot of people I've met there at the building, pulling there for so long that I only get to see once a year, that, fans and spectators that I've met throughout the years. I get to see a lot of people I only get to see once a year. A lot of older people, hang out with them. Just have a good time with everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome with all that. Bert, any closing thoughts on stuff? Anything you'd like to cover before we start wrapping stuff up?
Hey, I'm just going to say, I think, David, we were talking about this earlier. You still got a couple of spots open in the two-wheel drive class. If anybody's interested in running down here, get in touch. Message us through Facebook, Big Daddy Motorsports, or, if you've got a contact with me or David or any of us, just get in touch with us. I think you got a few spots left open. Supermod two-wheel drives. If you're bored, you want something, get out and throw a little dirt. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. This year we wanted to do a little bit more on the two-wheel drive class than we had before as far as the truck count goes. We had quite a few two-wheel drives that were planning to come. I know two of them had some engine issues over there at the Kentucky Invitational. A couple guys haven't got their blowers back from getting freshened up yet. One guy's waiting on a set of tires. One guy's waiting on a set of headers. So parts availability and lead time hasn't been on our side this year. So we're looking to see if some guys have some trucks that are ready to go, put back together after they're freshened up for the winter. Would like to come out. We got about 4 or 5 spots open still. So,
but Bert, we do got the North Carolina champion two-wheel drive coming.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, David Carlton,
UFC champion David Carlton's going to breathe there with his Breathe Easy 2.
Yeah,
that's a sharp truck. I've got to ask this just because this is kind of my deal here, is what would it take to get that indoors and put a class of mini rods in there?
I would definitely be open to it. The biggest thing is the second sled that we have to have there. It gets a little tight. We've done it before in the past with the naturally aspirated mini rods on the 4-cylinder light trucks. But if I could get, man, if we could get a sponsor to help cover the sled, I would love to have some blown mini rods there. I think it is one of the coolest classes. I will say, if you drive a blown mini rod, you got to be a pretty brave guy, because that is a whole lot of horsepower and not a lot of tractor right there.
Logan, you got a little experience with that, don't you?
Yeah. We take a couple around the United States with stuff and try to kick some tail with them.
I don't know if I could pilot one of those. I might would have to try it one time, but I think day in, day out, I don't know if I could sit in the seat of that thing. Hey, props to you, man. But I would love to get some of that.
It's a wild ride for sure. Those things are like no other. But you guys, every year at North Carolina State Fair, you guys seem to have a good mini rod turnout with stuff. So you guys are really in a hotbed of good mini rods there on the East Coast that a lot of guys would come and run. And I know a good old man named Randy Fishbaugh that wasn't able to make it here with us. And he's got a good old mini sled that I think he'd offer to bring down. So that might be something to look at here in the coming years.
Yeah. Have them get with me for next year or remind me about it. I got it about this time of year, starting about a month before the pull. I got a million things on my mind and a million things to do, but I think the mini rod blown class would be a awesome class to have there. So I would definitely be open to it. If we can pull it off, I think that might be something you see next year.
Definitely.
That would be awesome. Well, boys, you got anything left before we wrap this great episode up?
Hey, just go to Big Daddy Motorsports. Check it out. If you want to get advance tickets, go ahead and get those in. If you get an opportunity, buy them online. If you can't, get them in the stores. Because hey, it's one of my favorite events every year. And let's look into it next weekend. I think David Carlson's going to join me and David Whitley, and we'll talk to him a little bit about his experience last year, and his UPOC season, and TNT. I think he got second place. So we're going to talk to him next weekend, and we'll be a week closer.
Yep.
Yeah, he did
Exactly.
pretty good
It's going to be big.
It'll be nice.
Well, Bert, let's roll that promo video one more time, and we'll let you guys get on to your own deal. So I appreciate the time to talk with you guys, and it's going to be a good event, and we'll just keep after it.
Well, tell them guys out west and up north, down south, get them old wedge trucks out. Let's see if they still got it in them. They got a place to pull right here in Virginia and Eastern North Carolina where they can still be good and competitive and, go back to their old roots.
That's what it sounds like.
Who's ready for the Big Daddy Winter Nationals? Happening January 16th and 17th. Get ready for 6 epic classes of power, adrenaline, and full pulls at the Senator Bob Martin Eastern Agricultural Center in Williamston, North Carolina. Live streaming at Full Pull Live.
Today. Let's talk about today.
To bear a national state level, you have to run non-sale, it's wholesale.
It is like 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put it right in the registration movement.
Just this ever-evolving story.